Hello, this is May feedback session, and we are ready to start. Where is it? Here. I need to share screen. Wait a second.
J'aime bien ça, c'est parce que c'est les. Ouais, tu peux dire hi.
Yeah, share screen. Share, and we will start with violet tulip. I have a lot of violet tulips, so yeah, and I will talk as much as I can, but maybe I will not repeat some things that maybe are repeating in each painting. So of course, it's nice to have a reference only about your work, but I think if violet tulips, there will be a lot of these violet tulips, so I will talk and then just point the things to look at, but just be aware of each violet tulip, so maybe you also have something that others have. So, okay, we had a wonderful tutorial of graphite and watercolors, which I love, and I think that we can gain so much of practicing graphite and after graphite watercolors. I always suggest first you do graphite and then watercolors. I saw a few students did other way around. This is not just about the pretty composition. This is more about learning process. And as I create tutorial, first was graphite, then watercolors. That's how it should be approached in order to, when you do the graphite later with watercolors, it's a little bit easier because you already did it. Graphite pencil is the easier medium. And after doing almost the same subject in graphite with watercolors, it will be a little bit easier and more understandable. So here, let's zoom in a little bit closer. Wonderfully done graphite. I love how stem here is done with all these. We can see a shadow. We can see reflected light area here on this, almost at the very edge. And then these graphite lines that are the same as the stem is growing and the roundness of the stem, like you are doing the cylinder. So what is done here would be nice to be done with watercolors, like the same. Applying layers first of very light, leaving light area light, and then with the very tip of your finest brush, as you do with pencil, you can do the same with stem of tulip with watercolors. That's why the practice with graphite, you almost, in my technique, you can almost do the same as with graphite. Sometimes I get asked that from some other followers are asking that I'm painting almost like with pencils. And if you are good with graphite, you can do the same technique with watercolors. It's lesser amount of water, more finer brush strokes. Yeah, doing like you almost are painting with last bit of hair on the tip of your brush. It's almost like that. When you have a sharp pencil, it's very sharp. Then with the finest brush, you can do the same. But here are wonderful fine lines, amazing. So here, and the direction of how the tulip petal is growing also is incredible. What would be nice that these fine lines go a little bit into that. Where's my reference? So it would be nice that those violet lines, very light lines, go into that green area. As you can see here, there's a very, very light part goes in there and very, very light part goes up way. So leaving lighter area higher, and then you with fine lines, not just stop where the green part is stopping, but with these, you see those, you can do a really fine lines, just continue them very lightly towards the green part. That will make this transition more natural and gradual when you would have those violet lines inside the green part and leaving some gaps of light area. That would be more like naturally looking. Now we can clearly see that there's the edge where the green ends and violet starts. But if we take a look at here, it's not so visibly accurate, this edge where the green ends and violet starts. It's more like beautifully combining together. Like in graphite, you have more subtle this transition from this lighter part to darker part. Then also beautiful. Graphite is done amazingly accurate. Interesting. I like how different directions of graphite marks creates this three-dimensional look of petals. And also the same can be done with watercolors when you are doing this very lightly. Look, like here they go straight and then they go slightly to the side, and everything that combining creates a really nice volume and three-dimensional look. About the, so maybe here this all right side is in the shadow and would be nice to have a little bit more contrast on the right. Also tulip petal here, if we are talking now about more tonal values, then contrast would be nice. Also on the right side, look how this part is darker and this all is the same. So leaf on the right, petal on the right, more shadow. Now to watercolor tulip has why are you going away? So the watercolor tulip, no, it's not listening to me today. Watercolor, oh, come on. Oh, yeah. So watercolor tulip is a very contrasty. Would be nice to have a little bit more light, the shiny part, because the tulip has a very this glossy surface, and that's why the shiny part appears very bright. Here can go, if we compare this inner part, inner petal, it's darker than this area. In your case, it appears lighter than this part. Now look, compare this, this to this. Then this is lighter. Only the middle line is very bright, yes, but the main body of the petal is darker. In your case, it's very light, and the middle line is also bright. Here can go a little bit darker. Look how dark this spot is. So on the tulip, this is the darker area, and this here, this little edge, and this part is the darkest one. So more watercolors here and a little bit of here. And about leaf part, a little bit more of here can go a little bit darker. If we compare this edge of leaf with this, then this looks darker, and especially darker than this part. It's all about when you are reaching the finishing part, you need to start to compare one, like you take this one area of compared to this area, compared to this area, or if you have petals, compare this little corner to this. They are much way darker, much more contrasty. So at the end, you start to compare, you start to look at each section and see what you can add more. So at the end, it's like where I can push myself a little bit further with study, with observation. Let's have a look at another violet composition. So here's the same shadow on the right, shadow here, also a little bit more. Leaf is equally as a tonal value, it's even, but in reference we see that the left side, because it's curved, the left side is turned toward the light, it's in the light, and the right side it is turned away from light and it's in the shadow. That's the appearance that it's curved. It's not straight, it's not flat, it's curved, and with darkness, shadow, and light we can show that. Also, this inner part is slightly darker, only the middle line is lighter. Light is good. The same with these fine lines of violet. So, as I said, students will have very similar issues. So, more detailed in the beginning. Graphite is done very nicely, these transitions of darker, lighter, very detailed, very curly petals. With watercolors, it seems that a little bit it was done a little bit in a rush, like you spend more attention to graphite, and for me it looks, maybe I'm wrong, it looks like then you had maybe not enough patience and you did watercolor. So what I did, I first finished graphite, then I took pause. Of course, in the tutorial, you don't see that I take a lot of pauses, and that is normal because eyes can get tired. You are get too used to what you see. Then you need to take a break, go away, do something else, come back other day, and then continue. And also, don't try to approach, especially with realistic painting, watercolor paint, don't try to approach everything in one sitting. It's even if you have this luxury amount of time, still it's good to take pauses in order to make it more accurate, more detailed. There are different styles, for example, like wet on wet, where you like need to work as still it is, everything is flowing and still wet, but with detailed realistic painting, it's a little bit different approach. So more contrast here, shadow, and watercolor slower, more transparent layers. And I see from here that it's very dark and intense, and in few layers it was done. Very dark and intense, but I was painting it in many layers to get this fullness and richness. Then maybe I will. Okay, there were more. Oh, here, there's another one. Here, both were done with watercolors. And let's take a look. So this middle white line isn't so vividly visible in the reference. It is there, but it's not so straight and even and so white. So a little bit calm it down at the end. Then a little bit, this part is like a triangle, which is not here. A little bit more contrast in these darker parts. Look how dark this inner part and this little also inner part. And these darkness will help to make it more three-dimensional because there will be contrast which separates one petal from another and makes it more with depth and volume. So definitely add those darker parts. Then this also doesn't matter, graphite or watercolors, this right side is way darker than it is in your work. Then stem has a shadow area here. Look on the right side, there is shadow. Also with this watercolor stem, the same, there's shadow on the right. Then inner part of the leaf can go way darker. Look how light is the outer part, and then the inner part is way darker. You have it very similar. It doesn't have such, look, this spot compared to this spot. And you have it like, if I compare this, the same spot with this spot, this one looks even lighter than this, but in reference, this area is way darker. So compare, look careful. And let me see. Wait. Somebody wrote something in chat. Okay, somebody left already. That's okay. I will share screen. So closer to the end, compare. One one part of the leaf to another part of the leaf, as well as here. Then again, this inner petal is darker and you have it much lighter. So this goes darker. Then, okay, we will get another one. Let's see something else. We have an apple from different reference. This is not my reference, but amazing for you to try.
Mm.
Okay, let's see. It's very dark and intense apple, beautifully done. I love these reflected shadow areas on the apple surface, which makes, I even say that your apple looks way more glossier than the reference. Reference is very dark and dull, and you did it lighter, better. It
Thank
looks
you.
better. It looks, for me, it looks shinier than here because everything here is just, hey, Karen, everything here just looks dark and that's it. But you have it like there's this reflected light, yeah, cast shadow, sorry, cast shadow area here, cast shadow. So your apple looks way more shinier. Maybe a little bit more work, more detailed work. I don't know how it is possible for you right now to do a really small detailed work, but a stem could be more crispier with details. Like, let's see closer. Like these little things here can go with take a very dark watercolor mix, finer brush, and then just do these little very, very fine lines here and there, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, again here, like in your work. You already started, but make them even more darker. That will create this Christmas of this almost like old crumbly stem of apple, and like this little bump here, do it darker. Definitely look at this shadow here. You can add it here, and that will help to create it way more realistic. Then look at the stem of the apple. It's way darker on the upper part here, and then it is lighter. And don't touch it here. Just add a little bit darkness here. Then this here part is darker because it's the lower part, so you can also add a little bit darkness here. And then add shadow to the leaf stems here, like add it here, then there's a little bit shadow here. And let's look at the leaves.
Beautiful.
So leaves are all almost amazing. I would add.
Thank you.
Oh
my God.
I would add a little bit contrast, then it will be finished composition. If you will add the Christmas to the stem and a little bit shadows. Now, if we look at all four, I'm not touching these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves. They are quite equal. They are like all four are the same. If I zoom out and look from the distance, we see that this little one, it's always nice to look from the distance. Take far away or step away from your work and compare with reference. Like we don't see now details. You have a very nice detailed work. Now we need to add contrast, and contrast can be watched from the distance. So you, like this leaf is the darkest one. You can add darkness here. Then shadow here, you can add shadow here. Okay, let's zoom in now closer. So you need to add finishing touches and frame it. It's so good.
Oh my God.
Or
Those
you already
leaves.
framed it.
No, I did not. I have not framed it. But when I saw the apple, I went like, okay, I can do the apple. let's see if I can do the leaves.
Ah,
Yeah, you can do
Finish 'em.
the leaves. No worries. You already did them. You just didn't finish them. They're not finished. You did them. You have details, you have veins, but you don't have contrast. So now you need to add contrast. Separate these two. These two are not separated. You need to separate by adding shadow to this one. Don't touch this one, only
Mhm.
the right one.
Once I can handle a brush without pain on my left hand, I will.
Like beauty of watercolors, you don't need to do it instantly. You can do it after a year. That you can add details. It doesn't matter what, you can go away and come back, I don't know, after a month and finish it. So it's not like you are have a deadline to finish this apple, but I would really recommend you to spend some extra hour, and you will see the change you can make, like contrast here, more crispness to the stem, and shadow here. Then look, this curve here is so good, and you have it already. You just need to add shadow. Look, you don't need to add light there. There's shadow. Like this little curve is darker. And when you will add this curve, then it will look like it's curved. Now it looks like there's a hole in from the side on the leaf. Yeah, and then
I've also found that to make those kinds of, make it look real,
yeah.
it's better on the thicker paper
Mm-hmm.
because I'm adding
Yeah.
washes and light washes instead of the normal 300.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, for maybe for recently I discovered that I like more when I'm painting finer subjects, like we did clematis, also this violet tulip composition, than something else. I more enjoy painting finer work on 300, but when I have more bigger in size and darker, like big peonies or larger composition, I like to do it on 600. Then I feel like I can layer and layer and layer and like it's like never ending story. But to get more finer, but again, I'm painting on 600 Saunders, and I recently noticed that it doesn't allow me to make so fine, even it's smooth, so fine and so smooth details for finer work. But 300 paper allows it. But again, if I have a big peony head, I will go for 600. So it matters the paper type, brand, it matters subject that you are working. It's not like one paper is good for everything. You can,
I am jumping in between Fabriano and the Saunders.
yeah. And which one you like?
My Fabriano is a 300, and I bought from you the 600, and then I bought online 600, the big sheets, and that I can cut
Yeah.
the size that I want. So for the, like you say, the 300 is super nice for,
Yeah.
but the 600 takes more water or more
Takes more water, yeah, and it layers. If you don't have enough water, they appear more drier. The layer.
That's a pretty bird.
That's a pretty bird, yeah. So, what we can do here, we can add a little bit more here on the front part of this bird's head. A little bit finer lines would be of very light orangey color. on this middle part as well, because now you have a lot of lines around, which is beautiful, and you have the direction of the tummy and body of this bird, but then you just stopped in the middle and it looks like this empty circle. Take a very light, let's see, this watercolor mix that you have it here, and with super fine lines, go over here. Like we see, there are also lines here. Also in the lightest area, there's so many, we are seeing them as lines. There are feathers, but we are doing them with lines, with lots of little lines. The same that you did here, you can do as well here. Maybe legs can go a little bit darker, and then this whole lower part, even this a little feather part on the lower part of the bird is darker. It's not so light like you have it here. It's a little bit darker. Let's compare this feather to this feather. This is completely white, right? And if I compare in your work, they are equal. Look at this part and this part. So calm this area a little bit down, and this tail part can go darker, and legs can go darker, more intense. So a little bit more contrast here and there, but it looks lovely. I think we need to do another bird tutorial. It looks so lovely. Let's see what we have. We have an onion. Let me open reference of an onion. Yes, I have it here. So, onion. Contrast. To make the, like for now, it looks unfinished, and this light area doesn't look so bright, but it is okay. You are just missing contrast. And contrast, look, this part is way darker. You can add a little bit more of red, brighter red with Indian yellow to make it a little bit more brighter. Then you can definitely add more here. Look, the contrast between this skin part and this skin part. This is way darker, and you have almost very similar. You need to add more here, a little bit more here. Don't touch the light area. No touchy, only here. Then also the crispness can be added here. Very, like, take finer brush, perylene, while together with a little touch of maybe sennelier or yellow, and then do very fine lines of this old onion skin cracks and folds, and just a little bit more contrast here to make it more interesting and detailed. Let's look at the greens. Now, let's see what I'm talking about, the contrast. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this part. And also let's look closer this part. When we are comparing, like now look, this middle part is way darker. You can apply it. Then here it is slightly darker, then it is lighter, then it is darker. Now you need to separate all these greens. This is also darker. This can go darker. And as soon as you will add darkness here, it will instantly be separated. Then more contrast here. And when you are adding contrast, don't touch light area. Like only add it where it is dark. You don't need to add smoothly around all the green area. You need to add, like you see, here is the line of darker color. It doesn't mean that you need to apply everywhere, only the middle part. Now you see the shadow here, and here is the light area on the very edge. And again, here is lighter area, but here is the line of darker. So you also take line and add it here. You don't need to smooth it. And
One question. Do I wet the whole leaf to add
no,
that line?
no. When you
Oh, okay.
wet the whole area and you add watercolors, they will spread.
Okay.
And it looks like you are constantly trying to make everything smooth. But does
Yeah.
the green look smooth? They have little, when you have in real life greens, you see that they have little, they're not completely smooth. They have like little, I don't know how to call them. Like you see it here, like darker, lighter, darker, lighter. They have surface that is slightly wavy. Then they are not completely round. They are like with, I don't know how to tell.
Bumps.
They're not
Bumps.
completely, yeah, they're not completely straight, round, and smooth. They look, something is darker, something is lighter. It's not so straight. It's not so perfect. So don't try to make your painting look perfect, which will make the difference between painting and illustration when you have those all details of maybe little flaws from nature, that this stem isn't so straight. Illustrations are more idealized, more lesser details, but in botanical realistic painting, we have all those things to make something look like a painting. We have all those details of little bumps and little shadows. So yeah, add a little bit more darker here. Look how dark this is. Then here, how they separated this part can go way darker, this middle part. And then it will contrasty, look more three-dimensional. It's, don't get me wrong, it's already looking great. I'm just pushing you a little bit further so you can see where you can add more. Okay, let's move a little bit this one. Then we had landscape painting. Let's make it smaller. So for the first landscape painting, it was all about how to start, how to separate these different perspectives, what is further, what is closer. I want to open another one. So the things that are further can't be in the same strength as the things that are closer. We are separating something that is further. It looks dark, but it's not so intense. It's more paler, it's more grayer, it's even something blue. Is it there? This part is the one that is more intense, more detailed. The landscape, we are not looking at each flower, at each tree or each leaf, but we are building these sections of what is further, what is lighter, and then it slowly becomes more intense, more crisper, more detailed as it reaches closer the viewer. Here's very nice detailing, but it misses contrast. Like, for example, this one has a lot of contrast, but it misses the lightness in the dark. And then you need to add shadow on the road. Look, there's shadow. Because this tree is casting shadow on this part.
Okay.
So in landscape painting, we are not looking for details, but we are looking for details that are in light, in bigger amount of, like this whole tree is casting shadow on this whole road, not this tiny leaf is casting shadow on that tiny leaf. No, we are looking at more major details that are happening in the major scenery that we have in front. And here as well, more shadow here, more contrast in this part, and definitely these leaves can go way contrastier. They are the darkest ones because they are completely in the shadow and they are casting shadow on this road.
Christina, I have a question.
Yeah.
On mine, the dark in the front, I tried to get those two shades differently, but the front was very, very dark, which it would be, right?
Yeah.
But then my tree kind of grew, my bush grew, it kind of grew really big and it was quite dark. So
Yeah, and you lost a little bit of light. Like
I
here,
did.
this grass grows and this tree is behind that grass in the
Yeah.
shadow. So you lost this part.
So how could I have done that at that point? Use gouache, maybe?
No, this is a little study. I would recommend start over.
Start over. Yeah. Okay.
Gouache
Okay.
will not get this, like with gouache you can add details like little flower dots, or maybe some, if there's a house, some details on the house, but like a whole thing to make lighter, it will appear not so natural. It will not make this of course, if you would paint everything in gouache, then yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Gouache on gouache is different result, but with watercolors, this is a quick study to understand. It wasn't about the aiming for perfect result. This was like a practice to get these different perspectives, and I would recommend just start it over and do this part lighter.
Later.
Yeah, yeah, and also skies are here lighter, and then they're more darker again as they're closer to us. Everything that is at the horizon, very far away, is very pale. Unless maybe there's a thunderstorm coming, then there will be different. But when it's like cloudy or clear day, then everything at the horizon is very pale gray, bluish, and it makes this appearance that it disappears.
Okay.
Okay, we will have another one. I will open them. Then we have Fritillaria. Wonderfully done. Stem would be nice here to be a little bit lighter, but still there is light. It's not like evenly everything is dark, but a little bit more lighter would be nice. Then the inner darker further flower heads that are way deeper in the composition are darker. This one can go darker. Then there's a little bit of further one also can go darker. Then a little bit confusing are these edges. I don't understand. Did you left those edges white or is it color? I don't quite get it, but like white is here. If you left it white, you can paint it over, and you need to add this indigo. I think it was indigo or pearl and violet. Like you need to add a little bit more of these darker bluish upper part of Fritillaria flower. If you have it color, I don't quite understand why you add those white lines. They are slightly messing with the whole composition. These, you already have very beautifully painted, detailed, a lot of colors, but these white edges are a little bit confusing. I would color them over and add more these darker indigo, pearl and violet parts. Like you have them here and then you stopped adding them here. Why? They also are here. Look here and a little bit visible here. Then leaves leaves need a little bit more of separation, especially this part. If we take a closer look. Here it's darker, can go darker, darker, can go darker. Then this is lighter and this is dark, like this is lighter and this is darker. Also more shadow here. Look, this is darker. You can add it here, more darker. Darker, look behind. To make these little flower stem appear that they are coming out, you need to add shadow behind them on the leaf. More contrast and compare one leaf to another and see where you need to add more. And definitely those darker upper parts of flowers. But it's already looking great. Beautiful. I think we will have another fritillaria somewhere. Okay. Now I have this landscape, but I don't have the reference. But what I can tell without reference, there's missing this perspective of what is further is lighter and what is closer is darker. Even in a misty forest and mountain scenery, there still needs to be something that is further is lighter, something that is closer is darker. And I think that this front part can go darker, but again, I don't have reference and it's hard to tell, but the misty appearance looks realistic. You can clearly say that it's a mist in the forest and mountains, but what about perspective? To separate these, what is further, what is somewhere in the middle, and what is closer to the viewer. Need to look at the reference to say what is happening there. Now we have a chrysanthemum painting. First thing, leaves, especially closer to the flower, needs to go darker. When you will add darkness to the leaves closer to the flower, you will make the flower pop up from the paper. The darker leaf background will appear flower more closer and more like separated from those leaves. Look at this part. Look at this part. It's here. It's way more darker. Look here. I know you didn't want it to add leaves at all. And I told you, you need to add them. And now I'm pushing you. You need to make them darker. But that will help the whole composition. And what else? Let's look at the middle part. It's I know it's detailed and so many things are going on there, but just a little bit of here and there, especially this lower part, a little bit of darkness. Like look at those here, like here and here, a little bit here and here. And a little bit like careful.
We have company.
Yeah, and another student. That will be enough of work, and if you will be ready to do those leaves and a little bit in the middle, I want you to send it again. If you will be ready to do it, and then I would love to see it again.
I will.
Then we can go from there.
Sure, I will.
Yeah. If again, if you wanna, if you wanna. Because there are more things that can be done, but don't want to overload. Slowly, sorry. Magnolia. Contrast, missing contrast. It's beautiful, it's smooth. Let's zoom it out like we did with apple and look from the distance. And when we are looking from the distance, when you, for example, you are painting for 2 hours or 1 hour or even half an hour, take a break, pause the tutorial, pause your painting, step back, 2 steps, 3 steps, and look at the painting. Now, when I here zoom out and we like stepping back from work, and then we see that this petal can go darker, this can go darker, this shadow can go darker. This part, everything looks good, but need more contrast on this, on this, on this, and here. A little bit here. Look, this little curve can go a little bit darker. Then look at the stem. Now we are not looking at details, but we are stepping back, stepping away from work, and look, here is darkness, and here's there's 3, 1, 2, 3 that are most darker ones without details. You have detailed stem, you have everything there, but now you need to add contrast here, here, and here, and it will change everything. Details are wonderful, but contrast makes something look more three-dimensional, more realistic, more with volume. Now here we have another landscape from different reference. Everything looks very good. One thing, when you add these lines, these long beach grass, it goes to the ground. Look at the reference. It goes way to the ground. It's not stopping where this is like sand, little sand piles of, you need to continue. This line goes down, down, down. The brush stroke goes way to the to the lower, to the ground. You just stopped it here. Stop, 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 stop. Look here, stop, stop, stop. It goes down, 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 down. Don't be afraid to put, it's like shoo, shoo. Skies are wonderful, everything, just this little, it looks unnatural that it stops there. It's more natural when it goes down.
So the dark, you're saying the dark should go down?
Yeah, look, wait. Not this dark, but this line. Shoo, shoo, shoo.
All the way down.
All the
Okay.
way down. It's not stopping
And-
there.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Another violet tulip. Okay, there's shadow, a little bit more shadow here. More patiently, it's a little bit rushed here with these very dark and intense lines, just
Should
gradually.
have blended them. Yeah.
Yeah, not even blending. It's like you don't need to make them so sharp and few, just do it gradually and slowly. This shading, this with slightly softer pencil, then you will have darker area than this one, but not with just like with quick
Okay.
lines. But this graphite is more detailed and more accurate. Then a little bit shadow on the stem would be nice. And then with watercolors,
Yeah.
a little bit too much of water, it looks like.
Is that what it was? Why it's so rough looking?
it looks here, for example, you painted maybe one petal, then you painted straight the other one, and the one that was first wasn't quite dry, and then they got blended into each other.
Yeah.
It needs a little too much water.
Okay. And the leaf looked choppy too to me. And I didn't know if it was that was 600-gram paper.
Mhm.
So,
I would add more layers to the inner part of the leaf. Definitely can go darker.
okay.
More details can be added to, like, okay, this part is blended, but then you go and take a little bit darker color with finer brush and do this line. I'm not allowing to
Oh,
add
okay.
a darker outlines, but in this case, you can add a very fine and separate these petals, like it
Yeah.
goes here and then separate and then combine this line, like choo and there. And also on
Okay.
the opposite side, here we have line and then it stops. Like you can add it and then this leaf will separate this one.
Okay.
A little.
I will add more to it.
Yeah, you can definitely can. It's still a practice, nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have peppers. And the reference is black and white. I was asking for reference that is colored, but it is black and white. So colors are from imagination, only working with monochrome peppers, and green is perfect. Green is really perfect. These lines, this shading, these little seeds, everything looks so good. Just little crisper lines can be added, but that is optional. Like, look, you can add this a little bit here detailed, then some crisper line going here, like this one here, maybe a little bit, like this is like tiny details, but the green one looks perfect. Now the red one, I know that you were doing it with pencils, right?
No, watercolor.
But the white one?
No, that's shading with light wash. Oh, I'm sorry, Monica.
So I thought I was reading that it was done with the colored pencils. Okay, maybe I missed something. So I would add more contrast to the darker parts. I would add more contrast to the darker parts, like especially this upper part here, and then a little bit here and here. For me, it misses a little bit of contrast. It already has those curves and folds and a little bit more of, for example, maybe it was like cadmium red or cenyl red with some perlin maroon, and more here. And where these little folds and things that can be added here, it will make this more, those curves visible. Yeah. Like here we have a really nice contrast here and there with the green one, and it looks more natural and more realistic than this red one. Then we have a peony with the water drops, and this leaf should be nice to stay lighter, but as we can't make it lighter, then I would add a little bit more darkness to this one and to this lower parts to make this perspective that something is dark, further and not so crisp and detailed, and something is closer, which is more crisper and detailed. as you can see in this photo, the further leaf is blurrier. And that's how camera is also working. Something that is further, it will make a little bit blurrier. About the petals, don't rush with darker watercolors. I know it's tempting to finish faster, to go darker. I know it's tempting for me as well. It's not always like I'm so into painting those many layers. Of course, I want to see the finished result faster, but I know that it will be better if I take it slower with more layers. It will look fuller, it will look more richer. That's how this technique works. It's with layering, with the transparent layers. And when you go too fast with too dark watercolors, then you finish faster, but then you are like, oh, but it doesn't look so rich. It doesn't look so three-dimensional because you miss those tonal values and you overpainted light and you can't do anything else then. Be careful with, it looks like Pearl and Violet was added a little bit too much in the shadow, and it's a very intense pigment. You need to be careful with that. And no need to add black or very dark watercolors to shadow area to make something darker. It doesn't work that way. It will only make those areas look that there's some kind of spots of darkness. So be careful with dark and intense pigments. It can quickly change the whole composition into something completely different. And if you feel this urge to rush, better pause and come back again and paint more slower. Stem needs more light. Again, you quickly overpainted the whole area and it needs more light. Then we have work on orchid cactus. More layers here, definitely. Look, this further part, inner part of flower is darker. Then, oh, it's like it's not all in this paper. Okay. So also darker here, darker here. Like this, you did a lot of work on this flower head. Do more here and do more here. Like you started here and you need to do the same amount of work also here. Darker here, darker here, darker this upper part. Stem is at this point very good. There are shadows on in here and details. You need more work on petals, more work on petals. I have more work on petals in part 3. Okay, wait a second. Magnolia. So Magnolia is, where is it here? Too dark, too fast. A little bit softer and more transparent. More details to stem and leave light area wider than it appears in the beginning. In that case, you will not lose the light area. Leave light wider. That's the key to make some watercolors fresher. And transparent layers you can build up to darkness, to any darkness with transparent layers. And the more layers, the more richer and fuller it will look. Like this is dark, but then this is also darker, but then here is more light. Stem is way lighter. Look at the stem. Flower is way darker than the stem. In your case, the stem gets all the attention because it is so dark. Be careful with, don't lose light. Keep light wider than it appears in the reference. Then we have a clematis. Light, more light here, and leaves can go lighter here then the shadow can go darker here. Look, the lower part is more in the shadow, so you can add a little bit darkness over here. Tips are very good. I really like how the tips look. They are so crisp and the right amount of contrast. But then this part can go darker. Look, these ribs of petals are darker. Like not the whole area is darker, but only the ribs. Like look here, 1, 2, and the further one. Now we have Dutch tulip. We have some graphites from this amazing Anton vase Dutch tulip, which looks amazing in real life. And I was trying to make it close to original in our latest tutorial. So looking at this one, I would suggest you erase a little bit here to get the slide back, and can go a little bit darker here. And a little bit darker here. Light, definitely light. Really nice stem. So good, so detailed. This part is darker and this is lighter. If I squint my eyes, then the curved part is lighter and this under is darker. This was a tricky part, how to make it look not detached, but as a curve. A little bit of erasing, a little bit of contrast. This part can go darker, look. Yeah, this can go darker. We have more. We have more Dutch tulip.
Beautiful.
Stem wonderful. And details and those stripes. Amazing. And Maria, is this yours? Yeah, and she did it with the other hand that she's not using.
Wow.
No.
Crazy, crazy.
No.
So
Ambidextrous.
yeah, I'm not judging. I'm not giving you feedback because the whole thing is bravo.
Beautiful.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Stem, like all those
After
details.
3 days of patiently doing it little by little,
Yeah.
I did that, and now, yes, I can hear you. Hold on.
Yeah, this is amazing, amazing. Still with other hands, so I'm not judging. I'm not giving feedback to this one because no, I couldn't do. You did it amazing. So perfect. Great. In wow. So this is this is showing that there's no such thing as we can't do. Like we see a lot of things when people do amazing things, when they are like limited in some way, in some situations in life, and still want to do what they love. Like, wow,
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, we have another Dutch tulip. Also great, also amazing. Contrast, beautiful drop, amazing. Let's close. Amazing water drop, amazing stem. Beautiful. I don't have anything to add. Everybody did this tulip wonderfully, wonderful. There were some tricky parts, but everybody did wonderful. Like you can add maybe those finer lines, but it's up to you. It's already looking so good, so good. We have another one here. Also wonderful. Also wonderful. Water drop here would be nice to slightly erase it. Erase, because to make it, you lost the roundness here. You can add a just slight erasing this edge. Look, it's rounder and it's almost light here. Make it more softer. Now it looks like shadow is all around this. If I zoom out, it looks like the drop has the shadow all around, but it doesn't. Look, if I zoom this out, there are this edge and this edge where there's no darkness. Erase a little bit, erase a little bit, and this make it more rounder. This little tummy, make it more rounder, but beautifully, beautifully done. You can add a little bit more contrast here. It's not so, this area, it's not so bright here because it's everything there's in the shadow still. Even the more lighter parts, they're still in the shadow. This can go darker, but it looks fantastic. Fantastic. Were there more? I'm not sure. I will just let it down. Then we have tulips in graphite, violet tulips done completely in graphite, which is amazing, and more shadow here. Now you need to you need to give this study 30 minutes to 1 hour more. Add more contrast. Compare, like, look at this leaf and look at your leaf. It can go darker. Look at the inner part of the leaf. It can go darker. No need to add these dark outlines. No need to add. They are not here. They're not here. Only shadow. What we are adding is shadow. Shadow. Then shadow here and shadow here. Not the outline, but shadow. You can erase a little bit here to add this shiny part and then make this shadow area a little bit longer. Definitely more contrast to this tulip head. Look at these inner parts. You are missing these inner parts. You can add more contrast. Then we have another fritillaria. Where it was here. And it looks wonderful. Stem, darker, lighter, darker. I would add a little bit more of indigo to these upper parts to make them more bluer. Like they're not so, you have them a little bit more to the red side, but here they are really almost in the same color as the stem. If we compare, then these upper parts are almost in the same color as stem. And definitely more contrast to leaves. This can go darker. What can go darker? This behind can go, this, look how dark is this part. You can definitely need to add more darkness here. Extra time to add more contrast to leaves, to add more indigo to the upper parts of flower heads. And that's it. I think there's no fritillaria. Then we have another violet tulip, also done with graphite. A little bit blurry image, but I can still see. Again, contrast. You have details, you have form, you have composition, extra time for shadows that I already mentioned in previous. The inner part can go darker, the right side can go darker of this leaf, this petal can go darker, inner parts of, so lots of things that I said previously, I don't want to repeat. Compare one part to another and build more contrast. Here we have a really nice contrast, visible, can go a little bit here as well. Would be nice, maybe a little bit calmer with the shadow. It really stands out. To make it calmer, I would add a little bit more here. I already compared in one work, like let's compare this part to this. We can see like this is really dark and this is really light. Now let's compare in your work. Light, 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 light. You see how dark it is here? And when you will add more layers here, the shadow area will look calmer. Now it looks very intense, a little bit too much of intense. Tulip had wonderful. Maybe also the same thing. This is not so light. If we compare this inner part to this part, this is darker. Only leave this line lighter. Here line lighter, but add a little bit more there. And then this edge will also appear a little bit calmer. Now it's a little bit too intense. Okay. Then we have a tomato. I couldn't find the reference. It is my tomato, but I couldn't find the reference. And as I don't have a reference, it looks so juicy and so tasty. It looks so good. I will not be giving you any recommendations. It looks so good. I really like how all these, this is like heirloom tomato, where you have a lot of these folds and these shiny parts because tomato skin is so shiny. And you have it here. You have the shine, you have contrast, you have form. Great. Then we have tulip from different from students reference. And first thing you said, you don't know that you don't know what to do. And first thing that this is too bright. It is yellow, but it's in the shadow. The petals are closing it and casting shadow. So more layers. Now it's like light from somewhere coming, but it needs to go calmer. Then stem part needs more details. Like it's slightly going connecting with flower head. Then there's shadow. Then look at this lower part, how it is a little bit more details of darker, and this is going darker. This can go darker. Then this part, it curves inside and there's no light. You have it very light and it looks that it's sticking out, but it curves in. This is, and it looks like there's an edge, a crisp edge of the petal, but tulips doesn't have that kind of edges. They are curling inside, like here, and they are rounder. And you have, it looks like it's crisp and it's sticking out. So you need to calm down this edge. Perfect, fine lines, perfect. Amazing, amazing. Maybe a little bit would be nice reflected light area here. This would, what is reflected light area doing? It makes the appearance of roundness. And when we have a reflected light area, it gives the subject that it's not ending here. Now you don't have this reflected light area and it looks like it just ends there. Here you have a reflected light area and it looks more rounder rather than this edge here, but it is here. The reflected light area is here and it gives this illusion of the roundness. Then we have a peony study of also different reference, which is here. You also have a reflected light area here and it looks more rounder. More shadow closer to the inner part to make it that there's this depth going on thing. no problem. You're not adding these ones, no problem. You can alter your composition, your reference, unless you're not changing completely the subject. So this thing, it's not an important thing. We can leave it out and we still see that this is a peony and we can clearly see what kind of peony this is. So altering reference photo is okay. For example, if I have a chrysanthemum with, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of little petals, I will skip some petals. It's not changing completely, but it's making my life easier and maybe it's helping composition. Also, the same was with hydrangea flower. I was skipping some petals because there was a crazy amount of petals, but I wasn't changing the whole. So here also altering your reference, completely normal thing. Leaves are done wonderfully. Just little thing like this shadow can go a little bit darker and wonderfully done, wonderfully. Leaves, perfect details, amazing. Wonderful, patiently made. Maybe add a little bit more shadow here to separate this part from the stem, but it's like a minor thing, minor thing. Where's... Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Then we have a magnolia. A little bit more contrast here. Beautiful details on the stem. Looks so good. Just a little bit more shadow. Look here, 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 and here. Look. And wonderful. And as we are zooming out, we see that there is this contrast. Beautiful. We see that contrast. Don't need to add. Maybe a little bit, but that's up to you. What I would suggest you, when you are painting, be more careful with the surrounding area. If you know that things can happen, you can drop a brush, you can maybe somebody walked over your painting. You take a simple plain paper in the size of your work, cut out only the area that you will be working on and tape it around your work. Then the surrounding area will be protected. I have a tutorials I was showing you. There's on YouTube how to protect your work. It's important because you have a really beautifully painted magnolia and these little things around are disturbing the viewer. And with botanical painting, the surrounding area, the cleanness and neatness of your work is in the same importance as the painting. So please, you are doing wonderfully. Protect the surrounding area. Apply plain paper, apply parchment paper, whatever. If you know that things can happen, maybe you are traveling with your work and then somewhere it can smudge. It's normal. I do that. And I know that for example, if I will be going to workshop to other country, I will be protecting my work with multiple things, putting in a plastic bag and just to protect the surrounding area. And still life happens. Another tulip composition. And here we have a lot of contrast, a lot of crisp contrast, but still it's like contrasty, crisp details, but the whole area of shadow is missing. Like this area is missing more, right? You have it here nicely. Inner part, look, the same as we were comparing this to this here. Let's compare this to this. Very light. It can go darker. So I was telling lots of things, and also this very crisp shadow will calm down when you will add more to the inner part. I will not be repeating, okay? Then we have unfinished one, which means you need to listen all the previous ones I was mentioning about these tulips. So add more layers to the inner part. I know that you're not finished. More shadows, more contrast. Stem can go a little bit more into detailing. Inner parts way darker. More finer lines to violet tulip. Don't rush with darker colors. Do it gradually and lightly. Continue work. Just continue. You're doing great. Then we have cherries. Cherry season is started in Europe. I don't know how it is in other. Definitely in. I think now cherries are everywhere. Contrast. Yay. Okay. To make cherries super shiny is working on shadow. You have light areas, don't touch them. You have halftones, don't touch them. They are amazing. Add more shadows. Shadow, 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 shadow. Look, you need to add more shadow. These cherries are touching each other and are so dark here. Here are dark. Here are dark. Look, behind the stem is way darker. So as long as you will be adding shadow, the light spots will become more shinier without touching them, without, I don't know, don't add layers there, only work on shadow. And when you are adding shadow, add only where the shadow is. Don't smooth around the whole area of cherries, okay?
No coloring
No.
in.
A pear. Okay, let's look at the pear. So this is your work, yeah? And this is the reference. More shadow on this side and mix more browner color. This kind of pear has a lot of brown on it. You have a lot of green now. I don't judge and don't give feedback to colors, but in this case, this color, this brown color, brown spots are important for this kind of pear. They have brown spots. Brown, 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 and you need to add more brown. Now your pear looks different kind of species, different kind of pear. I don't know how to sell that.
Variety.
Yeah, different varieties. Sorry, couldn't find the word. But this variety has a lot of brown on the skin. So these dots, this shadow part, this lower part, and look, dots on this lighter part, you need to add brown, more brown. I'm not judging color, but if it's like depends the variety of the subject, then it's important. Unless it's like monochrome painting, okay? Clematis, shadow here. More shadow. Stem needs more shadow. Look at this lower part, can go into shadow. Right side in the shadow. Here, shadow, 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 shadow,
I
shadow.
get Okay.
Yeah, like look, like compare, put it side by side. You have all beautifully painted petals, but they are different here because they're differently turned towards the light. They're not equal. Now yours looks flat because they're all are the same, but we need to make some are a little bit further and they are darker. These three are darker. This leaf, this side, you circled here. You circled here. You are on the right track. You just forgot to add it. You circled the shadow, so you need to add more shadow here. Here and stem. Stem, very crisp line of shadow. Very crisp line, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Then we have another landscape. Also, look, you have the what is further, it looks darker, and what is closer, it looks lighter. Change that. What is closer is darker, way darker, way darker. Leave this as it is light and add darkness here because that bush is behind this grass. So do the brush strokes. I was doing them like in between those grasses. In between those grasses, add darkness. Yeah, and these should be much lighter.
Start again.
Yeah, this was a quick study. You can do it again. It's not like it's small, not so complicated. So
Oh, dear.
contrast, shadow. You see when we have them side by side,
Mm.
we have them side by side. So yours is in the middle. In the middle, yours painting. You need to add shadow. Don't touch light area. Shadow. And definitely here with more layers, with more layers. Okay. Questions? Welcome.
What happened to my frog?
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 But I got only a photo.
Oh, I was trying to draw it. Okay, no, then you didn't get it. It's okay. My seed pod, that wasn't a frog.
It really looked like a frog, but yeah, I thought that it was a leaf. But I got only a photo. I didn't got a drawing.
All right, it's not very good, but I'll send it at some stage.
You can send it. I will write you a feedback.
Thank you. Oh dear. I find, Kristine, that when I'm doing layers, I don't know, I say to myself, I think I'm coloring in. And then I try and I don't know. I'm just not winning at the moment. I'm having a bad. The paint seems to get cloggy and heavy.
Cloggy and
Am
heavy.
I using too much water?
Maybe too many pigments.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't
did you have you painted that rose that was in graphite and with one pigment? It was pink rose.
Yes, I did. Yes.
It did.
No. Long time ago, maybe. I can't remember.
It's an old tutorial, but there was a point when you are concentrated on tonal values using only one pigment, so you don't need to mix anything. So maybe if you had a longer pause, you had a break from painting and you feel like you are not in your boat of art right now, get back to basics, to something simpler, to something where you don't need to think about too much mixing, too much of detailing. Do something basic. It will get you back in the state when you are going back to base. I can send you a few tutorials that you could do just to maybe refresh some techniques. And when you had a longer break, don't try to jump straight into something complex. That way you can get frustrated that you are like you haven't rode on with the bike for 2 years and then you decide to go 20 kilometers ride. You will be frustrated. You would be, I don't know.
I just didn't think it would happen. I just thought, well, 6 weeks is, not that long. But, somebody said to me, but the muscle memory, even in your hands, changes.
There is a muscle memory, like you are not completely forgot, but 5 weeks, that's quite a long period of time. When I have a longer break, I feel very rusty. If I'm okay, I didn't had a longer period, but maybe even if I didn't paint it for a week or two, I feel a bit rusty in the beginning. So what I do some color mixing. I even sit with the child and do some really basic coloring pages just to get back. And then I'm like, oh, I want to paint my stuff. I feel rusty after even 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
No,
it's
well, then
normal. It's normal. It's you hadn't gone to the gym long time. You need to start easy. You hadn't, I don't know, something and anything that you had a longer break there. You need to start slower and more easier.
Okay. All righty. I'll be gentler on myself.
Yeah, definitely gentler. Yeah, you
Thank
only will make yourself sad.
Kristine, are we going to do some more landscape, some more practice?
We have next month, we have a landscape challenge. So I will post
Ooh.
on June 1st the whole thing that will be. I already mentioned that on a few times on Instagram, but maybe you haven't noticed that. But we will have a 12-day challenge of landscape, and there will be few solutions. Like you can do a landscape that I will be doing. I will be adding more references than I will be doing, so you can choose. And I will be mixing. There's botanical landscape painting. That's a whole different story when you have in the back a landscape and in the front you have some flora of that landscape. I will show from different botanical artists some references to look at, but I also want to try that, and I was doing that in when I was studying in SBA London. There's this botanical landscape painting, and it's so beautiful when you have a landscape and the flora from that landscape. So it's interesting. It's connected with our botanical art, but also slowly getting landscapes in. So June will be a landscape challenge.
Nice.
Before you close, I
Sorry?
posted the photo. Before you close, I posted the photo already in the Facebook group, but one of the tools that I used with my right hand for the graphite tulip was this pencil that I don't know where I saw the review and it said that it was awesome. So I said, let's buy it. It came like 7 pencils, erasers in the package, like
Oh, it's a
$5
razor.
or yes. And I can sharpen it to a really
That's good.
but it's soft
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
have
yeah.
other I do have other erasers. Where's my watercolors in? I have ouch this eraser from Faber-Castell, but it's hard. It's maybe it's for pencil colors.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard and it has a brush, but this one is really soft, and I can put it to a nice point because I was using the Mono Zero from Tumble that
Yeah,
it's super thin,
yeah, I
but
have this also.
I have that
uh,
too.
I cannot put it to a point like here.
Oh, did you post it on Facebook group?
Yes, I
Great.
think I got this. I follow a lady that does graphite of just women's hair or something like that, and she's
Oh,
always doing
yeah, yeah.
she's always doing this with a white pencil, and I was like, what the heck is that? and she posted that it's an eraser.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, more questions?
On Instagram the other day, you said something about something you were waiting for 4 years.
A student.
Yes. What was
Yeah.
that all about? because you never came back.
I will also start maybe in June few videos. My husband, he wants to learn painting. He never ever touched a brush, maybe a few times pencil in school somewhere, but he will be my student and I will be showing how to approach from a complete zero and a man. So I
Oh,
think
how
that's
funny.
That's so cool.
It's gonna be wonderful.
we will see what will happen from, but he's watching for all that we are doing and he feels so inspired of looking at your work and looking at my work. He said, I want to do that. I really want
Is
to
your
do
husband
that.
an engineer?
Just be
No.
careful, he doesn't get better than you. That's the only problem. My husband's also says he can't paint, and he paints much better than I do.
Well, so I think
Great.
that's interesting from a complete zero, how to build up, what kind of exercise I will give him. So that will be interesting.
That
that'll
will be
be great.
fun. That will be. And will you show us his work?
Yeah. From a complete zero. But in the beginning, there will be like color wheels just to get to know the tools because he never painted, never.
That will be funny. That will be
Yeah.
funny. How is your
Maybe
book?
maybe I should go back and start with him as well, because I've also done that.
I need to announce a beginner class.
Yeah. Kristine, how's your book coming? Your book.
Yeah, I'm working on that, and that's why I'm a little bit more quieter, maybe in stories or in somewhere, because next week I'm going to France. We have a workshop there, and now I'm working on projects, and I already have about 8. I need 15. I have 8 projects done, so soon the book cover will be ready, and in July I will announce about the book, how it will look. It will be a very interesting. There will be more compositions of multiple flowers, so it's going to be different. So I'm so
Nice.
excited about that.
Yes. Good. Good.
Okay, this was a lovely, almost 2 hours. Wow, we did a lot of work. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for painting and amazing. Have a wonderful weekend in front of you and see you in next tutorials. Bye.
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 Thank you, Kristine.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.